Oh, hey Ollie, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks. Now, a question we always start off with: how do you like your coffee in the morning?
I don't have my coffee in the morning.
Oh, you're one of them. We've had a few
Always
now.
afternoon. It's better. Lunchtime coffee. Because for me, I always train first thing in the morning, exercise first thing, and that's my
Yeah,
caffeine hit, so to speak. That gets me going. Whereas then afternoon, have my
yeah.
afternoon coffee then. But how I like it, with caramel syrup and a little sprinkle of caramel dusting on the top.
I love it. Now, people have called me that where I said, actually, I love the afternoon coffee hit. And
Yeah.
there's something about, I don't know, I always have a double espresso around 2, 3 o'clock. That's when it's I think coffee's at its best.
Oh, as soon as for me, obviously with work and business, that's just that afternoon pickup. Because I notice if I have it in the morning, generally I only have one coffee a day anyway, but if I have it in the morning, by that mid-afternoon, potential crash. So for me, it gets me through the afternoon.
Now, for the listeners, what is it that you do and why do you do it?
So right now, I am a business coach for personal trainers and online coaches, showing them how to grow and scale their business. Having been a personal trainer myself for 6.5 years and an online coach alongside that, my business now actually grew through the personal trainers I was interactive when I was a personal trainer. A lot of personal trainers saw the success that I was having, were asking for advice, and I just have a genuine passion for coaching people. So one personal trainer turned into two turned into four turned into eight, and it literally just snowballed from there.
That is amazing because that is the highest form of compliment when it comes to business, when it is come from just literally people seeing and asking like, I need your help.
Yeah.
Now, how do you what is it about, because the personal trainer market is a highly competitive market.
Absolutely.
Now I'm also in the marketing world,
Yeah.
where it's a highly competitive space. What would be your top tip to personal trainers on how can they kind of break out of that landscape?
And stand out from the crowd, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think the most important tip that I'd give in terms of that is understanding who you are and understanding what you value and how you want to get your message across. Because whilst I totally appreciate and agree with what you've mentioned, it is a massively competitive industry. It is if everyone's offering the same thing, but the way I coach people is a completely different way to the next 10 people I coach people. And I think it's very important that I believe as a great coach anyway, for you to relate through your experience what other people are going through. Whether you've necessarily experienced what they're going through or not, but maybe you've experienced it through a client that you've worked with. And I think getting clear on what you value, because I think in this industry, a lot of industries, especially with the way the world is going online, everyone's on social media, and everyone has this idea of what business should be and what they should do. And I think that takes them away from the thing that actually started in the first place. So getting clear on their values, I would say.
I wholeheartedly agree. I know we've spoken a few times on the podcast where the times when we as business owners are found to have the biggest headaches or to be the most unfulfilled or the most stressed is always actually, you look back and reflect, it's always been the times that have been furthest away from the identity, furthest away from the values.
Yeah.
Now let's kind of deep dive into that. How would you say a new PT came to you? Where would you start with them to be able to find their values and find their identity?
A little, I don't call it a game or a scenario that I actually run past a few personal trainers is just imagine you're in a dark room. Now, I know that starts off a little bit strange, but imagine you're in a dark room, there's no one else watching you, and you were drawing your life or you were drawing your business on this canvas, and no one else could ever see that. You were never going to show anyone. Only you could see it. Only you could experience it. What would you draw on that canvas? And are you living in alignment with that canvas in the outside world, in the public view? Because again, as I mentioned in social media, Instagram, You see what one personal trainer is doing. You see what one online coach is doing. You see what other business entrepreneurs are doing. And we, yes, take inspiration, take ideas, and take motivation from what everyone's doing. Great, but don't let that distract you from what you wanted in the first place. Because I think we enter this industry, enter this world, enter a career, knowing what we want, but then all of a sudden we're told we want something else because of how heavy we are marketed. So start in a dark room. I know it sounds crazy. Start in a dark room and draw your canvas as though no one else can see it, and then ask yourself, are you living in alignment with that canvas?
No, I love that, and I kind of want to add on to that. There was an exercise that was taught to me where go and text or message your 5 closest friends and ask them to describe you in 3 words. I don't know if you've ever tried this exercise. And when I say that again, sorry.
Something very similar.
Yeah, so I remember I did it when I was about 21, so far too long ago to admit. And I perceived myself as a kind of fairly serious, not serious person, but I don't want to say driven or focused, but and the word that came out repeatedly was bubbly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would never have even described myself as a bubbly person. But funnily enough, 10 years on, all of my branding around the podcast, around Vision to Success that is hosting this, is all about making growing business fun. Yeah. And that narrative never changes, never goes away. So I think how you're helping these businesses is a great way to kind of get into their core. I'd love to do a deep dive more into you saying what the difference between what their PT wants to do and what they should be doing. Can you give me some more examples of what that kind of looks like?
So I'll give you loads of examples. You get many personal trainers that want many different things. You get a personal trainer that has so much passion for coaching people face to face, but yet the marketing world and online coaches and online gurus, as I call them, no, the only way to be successful is to work online. You can't be successful on the gym floor. You can't be successful working to people face to face. You need to live in Bali, #laptop lifestyle, and that's what you need. That's success. And I'm like, no, that's your version of success. But I have other personal trainers that love working with people face to face, but they like the online element because it gives them a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more freedom, and they like the hybrid approach. And then there's other personal trainers that just want to go full-time online. And not one of those personal trainers is wrong. They are all right of what they value and want their business to be. But I think when you get a personal trainer that starts in the industry, or even a personal trainer that's been in the industry for 2-3 years, the attitude is the grass is always greener over there. And the grass is greener as an online coach. The grass is greener there. And I'm very much of the belief that the grass is greener where you choose to water it.
Yep. Absolutely. And I know we're in the context today, this is around personal trainers, but that is absolutely very true across all industries.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to almost pick up that water hose and start watering your grass and looking after it. You mentioned something about that is their success. You know, we're talking about the Instagram shiny, outward facing world of those gurus. Now, for you, how do you get the personal trainer, or even for yourself, how do you define success for them so they know when they have been successful?
That's a fantastic question. I think the success changes so often, and I think that's okay as well, because I think so many people think success is one thing, and when you're 21 years old, success is very different to when you're 32 years old, as I will test. And what I believe I wanted 3 years ago was what I wanted 3 years ago. And that doesn't mean the success of what I wanted in the past is, again, wrong, because I wanted that. It's where I was at that stage in life. So a great way, I think a lot of people in the development world always say to people, have you got a 5-year goal? And there's this emphasis on this 5-year plan, 5-year goal, whether that's in your life, your business, your relationships, or whatever it might be. And I don't really like a 5-year goal. I like a 5-year vision, because I think with a 5-year goal, so much changes in life. Like if we look at what's happened over the last 5 compared to where we are now, it's insane. So have a vision of what that looks like, but don't be so rigid that you're not open to be flexible of how your life is changing at that moment in time. So for me, I always like to create that urgency on people and say, okay, so that's the vision. So what's the goal in the next 12 months? And what can we work at? Where would you like your life to be in 12 months? Because whilst I work obviously in the business world, especially in the fitness industry, I think the situation is a lot of people put their heart and soul into their business, which is fantastic, and please do. But I believe business is there to fund the life that you want to live. Your business is a vehicle to give you the life that you want, not the other way around. I don't believe you should be running your life for what your business should be. I think your business is the vehicle to give you the life that you want. So what do you want in 12 months' time? And a great question I would ask to make that as real as possible is, Charleh, 27th of July, 2024. Me and you are having this conversation again. And you've got the biggest smile on your face because you're about to tell me your 5 biggest wins. What would you love those 5 biggest wins to be? And then all of a sudden, it makes it quite real for that person, and then direct towards that.
I love it. So what I'm hearing here is almost because you're almost making that vision far more tangible for the person. And when something is far more tangible, something is far more real, dare I say, it becomes more realistic for them to go, oh no, wait, hold on, I can do this, I can make this, and it isn't just some sort of fantasy dream that sometimes really lofty goals can feel like when you hear these people. Well, for example, I started the podcast because I wanted to do more traveling, but I love work. I love training CrossFit, so they're like absolutely they've been bred into my day.
Yeah.
But I've worked every day to kind of achieve this vision and this goal, and now I get to live it. But there's some points where I was like, I don't think this is possible.
Yeah.
You know. And so I can see that for them. Now for yourself though, looking ahead into the future, what is the vision for your business?
That is a great question. Again, for me, I go back to that dark room with the canvas. What's the life? What do I want my life to look like? I've recently just got married. So the next stage of our married life, what does that look like? What does my business need to create or facilitate to allow these things to happen? Like I've always said, I saw this quote a long time ago. It's got a few years back now. And it said, I want to be famous in my own home. And it just hit me so hard. It's like, I want to be famous in my own home. I want my wife to always be happy that I'm around. I don't want to have a business where I'm coming home and I appreciate I work all the time. I don't want to go downstairs and, this is happening at work and this is causing me stress and this is happening. And all of a sudden, the linchpin to take all my anger about work on, that's never anything that I've ever wanted. I want, touch a lot of wood as I say this, and maybe naive as I say this, I want a family, I want children, I want all these things, and I ask myself, if I want to be famous in my own home, do I want to be around my children? Do I want to be there for my children? Do I want to pick them up from school, etc.? And it's probably gone down a little bit of a tangent here, but then I can come back, because that's the canvas. So what does the business need to do to facilitate that to happen? Well, I need to make sure my working day is as efficient as it possibly can be. I want to impact the industry in a way that I can help as many personal trainers as I can. Now, I appreciate that's cliche in itself. I want to help as many people as possible, because I guess who doesn't? So I used to do a lot of one-to-one coaching. And one-to-one coaching is the foundation of where I built my business. But for me to help the amount of personal trainers that I want to help, and for me to have the life that I want to live, I have to limit the amount of one-to-one availability that I can provide. And then this is where I've created my group coaching programs that are highly successful with personal trainers in the UK. And as a result of that, I can impact more people while still facilitating the I want to be famous at home mentality.
So you made a really quite interesting point there, where you've almost you've almost limited your time availability and open up to sort of the group coaching. There's a great strategy lots of different businesses can employ.
Yeah.
What was the first thing? Because it's quite scary, and some people go, I just don't know if I can do that. What was that thing? What was the one thing that you did that helped you pivot to getting that group of PTs instead of one-to-one?
So, taking back just a step further, because I'll just give a bit more context to what I'm about to say, is I was doing a lot of one-to-one personal training. I was doing 30 personal training sessions a week. I had 20 online clients in the health and fitness world. And then I had about 8 one-to-one business clients that I worked with through personal training. And I was like, the grass only grows where I water it. I love personal training. I love health and fitness, and I always will. But I want to grow this grass. So I had to let go of that. And then it got to a stage where those 8 PTs turned into 16 PTs and so forth. And I kept getting messages, because one message leads to the next message, leads to the next message, result, testimonial, etc. And I thought, why do I have to be in a position where I turn people away? Why do I have to be in a situation? Why is my business right now being created where there is a potential I would say no to a person? No, again, I could still say no to a person now for one reason or another. But in terms of, why do I need to repeat the same thing to PT number 1, to PT number 2, to PT number 3? Could there something be else be created? Yes, there was. So I created the course called Fully Booked, which is what I'm running at the moment, alongside doing the one-to-one. And then all of a sudden, as I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the grass only grows where you water it. And I was watering Fully Booked. And then my first course from 5 personal trainers, 10 personal trainers, 15 personal trainers, 20 personal trainers, 30, and all of a sudden it just snowballs, because I believe I put the time and effort and attention into it. So I had to answer your question, sorry, in a long-winded fashion, I had to say no to something. I had to be willing to take that trade. I had to say, no, I have to limit one-to-one. And then I limited it back down to like 15 PT one-to-one, then down to 10, then down to 5, so I could have the availability to open up more opportunity to grow and scale the group coaching platform. So in terms of what was it, it was just, I guess, I had the amount of people that wanted more help, and I knew I could help them, but I was limiting those people from receiving that help because of the way I set up my business.
And I'd even add on to that, you had the confidence in your abilities, in your product, to say no. That I'm here. Well, 2 things you're here for: to always provide that quality service, and if I'm always able to do that quality of service, you're in a time business.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, I've got to increase your availability and limit it at the same time, and then that's the steps that you've gone. Now, just to be devil's advocate, there'll be some people maybe listening and be thinking, I can't do this, or I just don't have the time for this, or this doesn't apply to me. I have to continue the way that I've always the way I've always done it, because that's the way we've always done it. What would you say, or what top sort of skills, top tips would you give that person if they're just in that mindset?
I laugh with a bit of a grimace before I answer this question, because my first initial response, and I have to say it from the heart, is, what would I say to that person? I'd say, wake up. And what I mean by wake up is, we're not trying to build Mount Everest yesterday, but let's look at the world. Let's look at what's happening and how quick things are happening. And we always think to ourselves, well, I can't do that. I can never do that. I'm not asking you to build the next Facebook. I'm asking you, what is your vision that you have for where you would like to go? Whether you think it's possible or not. Let's just think about a vision. 5 years down the line, not a goal, but a vision. What could it look like? if it could, let's just have a hypothetical dream Tom conversation. Right, okay. Let's break that down halfway straight away. 2.5 years. What would that look like in 2.5 years? And then let's break that down halfway. So we're a quarter way now. We're a year and a quarter. A year and a quarter. So that's 15 months. Yes, that's 15 months. That's 15 months. So 15 months from now, what could that look like? And can we break that down to 6 months? Now, all of a sudden, we do that and keep breaking it down, keep breaking it down, keep breaking it down. What's one thing you could do this week to get the ball in motion? And I know a lot of people have heard break it down into bite-sized chunks, break it down into bite-sized chunks. I believe have the scary vision. Have that, whoa, that's the big thing. Cool. Because that's going to get you out of bed in the morning. Have the little thing, because that's going to keep you going in the process when the outcome is continuous, still feels like it's so far away.
Mm-hmm. And just on that, let's focus on that those continuous tasks, the day to day, because it's very nice. I think I'm with you. Like, I always do believe you might as well aim higher from the actual goal that you probably first thought about, because if you fail and let's say this is 100% and this is the goal that you originally thought, and this is the goal this is the big lofty goal, and you fail here, well, you still failed higher than you kind of thought you originally were going to get. And so it's almost like you can't lose, in effect. Well, and that's my belief.
I completely agree. So, but as long as the people remembered what the original goal was to begin with. Because I think some people then get lost in the
So yeah, elaborate on that if you would, please. Yeah, so what do you mean by get lost?
So in that sense, when you said you set a goal, then can you set the loftier goal? Now I have a friend, and we've done this for a long time now, he's got his own business as well, and I do my business stuff. And we write down what we want to achieve on a piece of paper. We swap those pieces of paper with each other, but then challenge each other in a laughable, we call it the laughable joke. Just now, on this goal you've set, put a laughable goal there. What's the laughable goal? So like maybe 5x it, or 10x it, or doubled it, or whatever it might be. And then, remember what the purpose of a goal is. The purpose of a goal is not to hit the goal. The purpose of a goal is not to hit the goal. The purpose of a goal is to become the person capable of achieving it. It's who you become through the process that matters more than what you get as the outcome. So then the question becomes, if I've set this as my original goal here, and this is then the laughable goal, I then take on the laughable goal as my question. Who do I need to become to hit the laughable goal? But we've still got on the piece of paper what the original goal was. So now our goal isn't a black or white, did I hit that X there? Is, did I hit within the realm of the original, the laughable? And now I've got a spectrum to aim for, as opposed to black or white, yes or no, did it happen, did it not? Actually, am I in the realms of that? Now I believe, as I was mentioning earlier, if you lose sight of what the original goal was, you might hit there, and then you might feel like you're a failure, you're useless, you can't do anything because you've lost sight of what you actually originally wanted. Mm-hmm. So I think having the original, have the laughable, then it becomes a spectrum of the goal.
I absolutely love that, because like you've identified, you have taken what human beings, we like to make things so absolute. Like you said, it has to be, we just like certainty over yes and no. And unfortunately, life, business, I'll even say, because we're talking about PT sports, it's very rarely that it is this absolute. So I love that we've actually got a window to be looking for and to be aiming for. Now, you mentioned, when we're talking about that laughable goal, you talked about who I need to be. Do you, in your process, do you recommend writing down what you think you need to, who you need to be when achieving that laughable goal?
I think that's the first question anyone should ask when they're setting a goal. I think anyone sets a goal, whether it's from how can I grow this business? How can I get my next client? How can I lose weight? How can I hit a new PB in the gym? They always ask themselves, what do I need to do? That's a good question. I'm not going against that question. How do I get there? That's a great question. But I think we miss out the who.
Yeah.
We've got the how and the what, but we don't have the who. And it's the who, I believe, that gets you there. It's the daily disciplines, it's the daily standards, it's the non-negotiables, it's the little percentages every single day, because what I believe is how you are and who you are as a person dictates how you do things. Now, that translates in all areas of life, and I think a great way for me to define this is look at how we identify ourselves, because your identity, and that's where it comes from, who do I need to become, dictates what we do, what we believe, what we achieve, and everything else in between. So the best way for me to describe this is I'm not a father, but talking about a father or a mother. Is a mother or a father motivated to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and change the baby's nap? Probably not. I can't imagine they would be. Are they then motivated half an hour later to do the same thing again? No, they're probably not. But do they do it? Yes, they do. Are they then motivated or inspired at 4 o'clock in the morning to do the same thing or soothe the baby in this instance? No. But does it still get done? Yes, because they've taken on the identity, the role of I am mother, I am father. That is what we do. And another example could be a vegan, as an example. So, does a vegan need to be reminded not to eat meat? No. Does a vegan need to be motivated to not eat dairy products? No. Because they've taken on the identity, that's who they are. They then act in accordance with that. And as a result of acting in accordance with that on a continuous basis, they live that lifestyle without even worrying.
I 100% agree. Have you ever read James Clear, Atomic Habits book?
Over there, yes.
It's literally the book, because that is the book that is coming to my mind as you're talking right now. And because one of his exercises that really did change my perspective on how we go look and live our lives. And I just loved his way of going, write down. So at the moment, I'm trying to get to semi-finals. So for people who don't do CrossFit, it's equivalent to Europeans. And to be a international athlete who operates at that level, it's almost I wrote down and went, okay, if I met an elite athlete, how would I expect them to live their lives? How would I expect them to approach their diet, approach their sleep, to approach their training? And I almost wrote down a list, and I said, well, it went down as I then wrote in the active language as if it was me and it was something I was doing now. So it was, as a person, I eat lots of vegetables. As a person, I don't drink alcohol because it supports my training. As a person, I look at my training and I train with intent in order to get the most benefits towards my goal from my training every day. I could go on, but I really went through everything I expected from an elite athlete and said, I am that person. When I wrote this down for context, definitely wasn't this person. Definitely would still go out and drink wine. You can be an elite athlete, by the way, and drink alcohol. That was just, this is very personal to me, and it's not advice for anybody. But I'd definitely go out for drinks, probably just kind of eat what I ever wanted, kind of sleep just whenever I wanted. Nothing was really drilled down in order towards my goal. Now, a couple of years later, everything is pretty much, I'm going to say 90% drilled down. We're not quite there yet because it's still a journey, but I still have that sheet of paper of what I expect that person to be. And every day I'm just making 1% towards that goal of how that lifestyle should be to be that elite athlete. So that's kind of my example. Now, You to finish it off nicely, is there, for PTs that might be listening to this show, and they might have some challenges in their business at the moment, and I know that you will know there's a few what challenges there are for PTs. What would you say is the biggest challenge for a PT that you've heard from your clients, and what is your top tip going forward for them?
The biggest challenge that I know of, but don't necessarily hear because they don't know it's a challenge, is going back to the identity, how they identify themselves. And I think the big thing that prevents a personal trainer from growing their business, or an online coach from growing their business, is they identify themselves as personal trainers. And you would think, well, they are personal trainers. Of course they're personal trainers. Well, I would actually argue you're not a personal trainer. You're a business owner. Personal training is a role within that business. Just like sales is a role, marketing is a role, lead generation is a role, customer service is a role. And all these things are roles. You're a CEO. All of these roles need to be considered. So when you want to overcome what you're facing to get to that next level, stop identifying yourself solely as a personal trainer and start putting on the CEO hat and say, personal training is one role within my business. And the personal trainers that you come across are absolutely fantastic at personal training. They're absolutely fantastic at coaching people because they spend the majority of their time coaching. But they struggle to grow their business because they're not looking at themselves as business owners. They're not treating themselves as CEOs. They're not developing themselves from a marketing point of view or a sales point of view. And to grow the business, you need to do the business skills. So in terms of my top tip in that sense would be, step back and ask yourself, what is limiting you from that next step, that next milestone, that next thing you're looking to achieve? Is it the technical skills of being a coach? Is it more nutrition knowledge you need? Is it more training knowledge you need? And perhaps for some it might be. But ask yourself, if I could double down on my business skills, my leadership skills, my communication skills, my marketing skills, etc., would that help me put what I already have from a technical point of view in front of more people? And as a result, putting it in front of more people, would that then make my business grow?
Amazing. And on that note, what is one thing a person or a personal trainer can buy from you today that is under £100 that would add a ton of value to their lives?
If you go to my website, www.oliver-tennant.com, you can get a copy of my book, Fully Booked, which is less than £15. And this will show you how to treat your business as a business owner that will enhance you and the fulfillment you get as a personal trainer.
Perfect. And I'll make sure to absolutely link them in all the comments and the social media and online on the website so that everyone can go grab it, can read it, because I'm sure everything from today's podcast has been amazing. You can absolutely get a ton of different exercises. Do have a go at them. Don't just listen to the podcast, actually do, because when we do action, that's when things happen, and that's how we make things, and that's how we learn. Olly, thank you so much for your time today. You have been amazing. Hope you had fun, and hope we have you on again sometime.
Loved it. Thank you so much.